Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Coming to you live, raw, and uncensored from Studio 107, welcome to the SOL Podcast. Wake up, America, with your host, Drew Baker, Shake and Bake.
We're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House! Ah!
Matt Dixon, the Iron Man.
When you're going through hell, keep going.
And Kelsey Lee, Special K.
I'm an extremely stable genius.
A podcast dedicated to protecting your rights by exploring the law, politics, and current events. You have the right to remain silent and listen, or call in and become a part of the show. And now, here's your host, Shake and Bake.
Welcome to the SOL Podcast. I am your host, the Shake and Bake. We are back at Studio 107 yet again. It's been a little time. As always, things get busy. We have to actually do our real job. And this is just obviously in a lot of ways for fun. But I'm joined with the Iron Man. How are you today, Iron Man?
Yeah, I'm fantastic. Ready to go. It's been a while. It has been a while.
Too long.
Feeling the itch.
Yeah,
Glad
me
we're
too.
back at it.
It was interesting putting the headphones on today. It had been a while.
Yeah.
And listening to my voice in the headphones.
It's sexy.
Well, I'm happy you think so. I still think it's a little odd. Anyway, we're also joined with Special K. How are you today, Special K?
What's up? I'm excited to be here.
As am I. And we know what today is.
Free for all Friday.
Free for all Friday.
Did I do it right?
Yeah, you did. We'll have the other part put in later during the editing phase.
Don't you dare cut me out.
No, I think we should all get a shot at doing it just once at least. So anyway, with Free for All Friday, for those that don't know, the way that we operate is we come up with our own topic or maybe frustration of the last week or two, and we air it out, and we like to kind of get deep into it at times, and other times we just like to have a good sarcastic laugh about some of the things that are going on in the world today and going on in America, which if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So we'll take the laughing route as much as we can. And as a side note, of course, you can always find us on all the podcast forums out there. There's quite a few. We pretty much have made them all. And by the way, I didn't tell you, we made True Social. We are actually, we're in. We were on a waiting list and we were like 500,000 into the waiting list. And I got an email 2 days ago and we are officially in now. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Huh? So True Social, new network, new social media platform to check us out on. Some time ago, we started a new segment of the show for this SOL podcast that we like to call What's the Verdict? What's the Verdict? So we're starting with today a question, which we will answer at the end of the show. And everybody can take bets, place bets on these questions to see if they're right. But I don't have the verdict today, I don't have the question for the verdict today. Do you?
I do. It has to do with the topic I want to complain about. So,
Such a complainer.
always.
What is your topic?
Is what percentage of mothers in the United States breastfeed?
I tried to beep out breast.
Oh.
No?
Chest feed.
Sorry.
their
Chest
babies.
feed?
Chest feed their baby.
Booby feed?
Did you say mothers? Did you mean birthing people?
What? Yes. What percentage of birthing people chest feed their children?
I feel much more comfortable. I almost was triggered by what you said.
Got to be inclusive.
Thank you. All right. So what percentage of mothers in the United States breastfeed their children? That will be the verdict.
Stay tuned to find out.
That's right. Moving right along. Who wants to go first on this Free for All Friday?
What's one of the most annoying things in your life?
When you're
Trying to eat a burrito that doesn't fall apart.
That is frustrating.
You ever been in Chipotle trying to watch these masters artfully roll double meat?
You must go to a different
four scoops
Chipotle than me because I'm quite
four
certain
scoops
I
of
wouldn't.
rice?
I wouldn't classify them as masters at the one I go to because I
Well,
look at it and think, oh, this is going to be
It's going to be a
nightmare.
mess. It's going to be a mess. I mean, I've gotten to the point where if I'm eating a taco, I might even put a soft shell burrito underneath it to collect all the debris and then have a burrito afterward. However, I've just found out they've come up with a solution.
Oh,
Tasty tape.
what?
Food grade substance, and
Wow.
it's got an organic adhesive on it.
Come on, man.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
So they can tape your burrito shut with Tasty tape.
I think this is an excellent idea.
Isn't this fantastic?
Was this on Shark Tank by chance?
It is not yet.
Oh,
not
they
yet.
should have taken it to the tank.
A team of chemical and biomolecular engineering students at the Whiting School of Engineering came up with this Tasty tape, which is currently pending
Copyright?
Yeah, copyright
Or
and whatever.
Patenting.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway,
We're lawyers, really.
yes, we are probably maybe.
Mhm.
So anyway, they came up with this, and they've tested "quote unquote" too many burritos to count.
Does that mean like this
Tasty
is a
tape.
good thing that they tested so many that it
They tested.
continues to work?
That's right.
Mm.
Exactly. They've tested so many burritos they even lost count and said it's just a fantastic substance. So I'm really excited for Tasty Tape. That's the one thing I'm looking forward to, so I don't have to be so angry about my burritos anymore.
Is it like bubble tape where if it tastes good enough, I could just like eat the tape?
Yeah, like are they making it into flavors is my
Yeah.
question. So like if you wanted your
I
burrito
bet
and
you
maybe you
that's
wanted
the
some
next step.
jalapeno tape
Yeah.
because you like it, you're like your burrito a little spicier.
Yeah.
So you wrap it with a jalapeno. See, if they're not doing it and they decide to do that, I want some sort of commission
I-
or
You
some
heard
sort
it here
of
first.
royalty.
I'm looking
Yes.
for somebody. So in a similar vein, I would look for somebody to figure out how to do a Nature Valley bar that doesn't turn into 3,000
Oh
crumbs in my
God,
lap.
that is frustrating. Like
Put it together with the taste.
That's
tape.
yeah. You just
Yeah.
wrap it and taste it. It's
Yeah.
like a burrito of crunchy.
that's
granola.
actually one of the things I will not eat in my car for that very reason.
Nature
because
Valley, yeah.
I love the bars, but when you're eating them, you're going to the car wash afterwards
Yep.
and using the super vac because it goes everywhere.
That's for sure. But anyway, yeah. So today I just wanted to make everybody aware that Tasty Tape is coming to market. You're no longer going to have to suffer through those messy burritos. So to me, that's my good news of the day. I don't go the special K route of complaining. I'm going with good news.
Is there
That's
any other-
You need to have a balance.
We're moving on to Kelsey's Free for All Friday.
I want to talk about the baby formula shortage that's going on right now. So it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong about this, but
You're
there's
wrong.
one factory that was shut down, and that's the reason why we're now having the baby formula shortage. That back in February, 4 babies died, and so they shut down one factory from Abbott in Michigan. So is this the only company that makes baby formula and is the largest baby formula manufacturer in the United States? Do they only have one plant that they're operating out of? This doesn't seem like a very efficient business model for something that people's lives depend on.
I will say this, and I don't know if there's any merit to it, but I read this on Amazon, so it's got to be true. It was an Amazon review as well as I think a Facebook post that if you go on Amazon, you change the country that you're ordering your baby formula from, and then you order it, say, from Canada, then you can get the baby formula. Have you heard this? Is this true? I don't
It's
know.
not, it's partially true. So if your Amazon settings are set to the United States, it will tell you that you can't get baby formula.
Yeah.
If you switch it to Canada, all of a sudden it is available now. But if you go and try to put in a US shipping address, it will kick back and say, we're not shipping this to the United States right now. So you can't just change your country and then get the formula. But if you live in Canada, there's no formula shortage.
I have a theory that maybe early on, like you could, and then Amazon got smart. Somebody tipped them off and said, now, wait a minute, people are getting this from other countries. So, but as far as the plants go, maybe it's because there's a few plants that they've dedicated to the border situation so they could get all of their stuff down there.
That is,
I don't know. If
I
that's
did
true
not
or
think about that. But I do know that looking into the reason that the factory was shut down and said these 4 babies died, but the FDA did an investigation and said that their deaths didn't have anything to do with the plant. So,
Oh my gosh, that kid
Why-
does not have any formula.
why, my next question with that is why is the plant still shut down? If it happened in February, why we're now in the middle of May and you're saying that there's no correlation between the two and
Because
people are
that's your-
starving,
That's your federal government red tape at work.
then the advice that's been going around is to just tell everybody, just breastfeed. Bette Midler came out with that super helpful advice. So I thought that everybody knew this, but I guess I'll just say it to clarify that some people can't breastfeed, just their bodies don't work that way. And also, if you've stopped breastfeeding, you can't just start breastfeeding again. It's not like, oh, hey, I've put my kid on formula and now there's a shortage, so 6 months later I can just start breastfeeding
I
again.
do recall
So that's the least helpful advice that you could possibly give a mother in that situation.
I do recall when the kids were young and they got off of the breastfeeding that there was no way to go back.
Yeah, like dries
The
up.
doctor said something. Yeah, the glands or something don't work anymore.
Unless you have another baby and like the process starts over again, you can't just do that because there's a formula shortage. So that's very annoying advice. But they're also, what they're telling you not to do is they say, don't make your own formula.
Yeah, what's that all about? There's people like doing their own science lab formula at home. That does seem risky.
And it's back to like what they used to do in the 50s or whatever, like before they had all that powdered formula and
Like
stuff.
back before we had seatbelts and things
Yeah.
like
So, yeah,
Thanks for really saying-
baby
They're
boomers
making
are all
baby
still
formula
alive.
next to their meth.
that. Yeah.
But they say don't make your own formula and you can't import baby formula for other countries because that's not FDA approved. But if you've looked into anything with like the opioid crisis and the FDA, all FDA approval is just a kickback from these pharmaceutical companies or these companies that the FDA regulates. They give the FDA money and then the FDA approves their stuff. So there's just because something's not FDA approved doesn't mean that it's not safe.
Well,
And it's not like all these babies in Canada are like dying from the formula they're drinking up there. So why can't the FDA just do one of those emergency use?
That's what I was about to say. Using the
They did it-
emergency,
Yeah, they did it for
approvals and
vaccines when it
stuff.
was so important for
Yeah.
everybody to get vaccinated or else you were going to die. Why can't they do an emergency use authorization from Canada so babies aren't starving?
Well, it is interesting that they can't do that, and they just recently, I think as of yesterday, approved the booster for children between, I don't know,
Like 1 and 5.
1 and 5, or very, very, very young children. So they did approve that. Does that help with the shortage at all, or
I don't think it does.
no?
Now, I don't want to be like cynical and we can all put on our tinfoil hats here, but I think it's
where is mine?
interesting.
Have you ever taken yours off?
Never.
Okay.
I sleep in it. But Bill Gates now has a startup company where he does, basically it's like he makes synthetic breast milk. It's called bio milk. Don't you think that's kind
that
of weird that
sounds
we
yummy.
have like a breast milk shortage and then, oh, Bill Gates just happens to already have the solution ready to go. Just like, oh, we had a global pandemic and he already had the vaccine for it basically ready to go. And there's a food shortage. And
Here's the
oh,
tinfoil hat
yeah.
for you. It's
and
not
Bill
really
Gates
foil, but
buys
it's,
up all the farmland,
you
and
go.
now there's a food shortage. And oh, he just happens to make his own lab-grown meat and vegetables and stuff. So it's kind of weird that every time there's one of these big global crises, Bill Gates is right there with the solution, ready to sell it to everybody.
what if I made the argument back that Bill Gates probably doesn't need the money?
It's not about money.
Yeah, it's not about money. It's about
Okay.
power and control. And
World domination.
besides, Bill Gates being super helpful with those crises, the last thing that I just want to mention is Congress just passed, or in the House they passed, it's going to the Senate now, $28 million to help with this baby formula shortage. And apparently the majority of the Republicans voted against it. So everybody's like, oh, you claim to be pro-life and now you're letting children just starve to death. But I looked into it to see why they opposed it, and that $28 million is just going to the FDA to help them hire more staff so they can like check the product safety for future baby formula and to do things in the future to make sure that there's not going to be another formula shortage. But nothing about that $28 million they just approved does anything to get baby formula on the shelf right now and help the problem that we're currently in.
Well, let me go into my Free for All Friday.
Free for all Friday.
Thank you.
That was good.
That was good. The topic that I want to bring up is one that probably started to really eat at me the other day when I went to the gas station. I drive a large truck, 35-gallon tank. It's always more to fill it up because it's got 35 gallons. But back, it's maybe a year and a half ago, is about $75, give or take. I filled up 2 days ago. It was $148. And I had gone in to have a drink or pick up a drink like a Red Bull or something to come back out and then see $148 on the gas display. And I said,
Short disclaimer, we do not condone leaving the gas pump on while you're away from your vehicle. Back to our normal
Yeah, I was
programming.
gonna say that's what I thought was a huge no-no. But
Well,
I've
I
also watched you pump gas without turning your
do that
car
all
off
the
that one
time.
day, and
While smoking a
yeah,
cigarette.
and I thought I was gonna jump
think
out of the
Kelsey
truck.
was scared.
lighting
She
a,
was going
lighting
to
a match
die.
with the fuel cap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the truck was gonna blow up. I was like, you forgot to turn your
So
car
that's an
off.
old wife though.
I
That's
often
that's
don't
not
turn
true.
my car off in the winter.
Oh, of course not. Why would you want to do that? You freeze your ass off when you get out.
Because all the signs on the gas pump say it's gonna blow up.
Uh,
I looked it up ever since I had.
And then what
You are correct. I
Yeah.
always
There's no
thought for
instance,
sure.
I think, in history of that ever happening. So that was really frustrating. I mean, $148. I keep thinking of folks that are on a very fixed income and a budget income where you take what it did cost for gas and you remove half of the money that was going to something else because that's what it is now cost. That's what it now costs for gas. And you have to go to work, so you don't have a choice. You have to drive to work. So you've got to put that in your tank to get there, to make the money, to make your budget. Where does the other money come from to make up that difference? And we're just talking gas. We're not even talking about food yet.
Yeah.
So if you're going to take it out of your food budget, well, it's already been cut probably in half based on how much you can get. I mean, you go to the grocery now, you walk out, it's like $65 and you got one bag. You're like carrying one bag out and you're like, how did I just spend $65? Like, what did I buy? So it's something that I
Because
think
you're eating caviar.
probably. And the irony too isn't the current administration, correct me if I'm wrong, don't they run on helping the little man, the downtrodden, those like all their objectives, at least that they talk about when they're running for office, is to help the downtrodden, those that are struggling financially. So what's going on? If that's the promise, now the conclusion is things are literally double. The things that we do on a daily basis, drive, eat, the basics. These are the freaking basics. This isn't disposable income or, oh boy, Kings Island went up. I can't take my family to Kings Island. This is like the basics of life. We have to drive and we have to eat. So what happened?
But I don't know what you guys do. I just wake up every morning though, and I have like a wheel that has like Putin and COVID and white people and greedy business owners, and I just spin the wheel every morning, and whatever it lands on, that's who I blame that day.
Well, I've heard that, and it makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah,
In
like
fact,
Price is Right. Yeah.
Are you the press secretary for
the
the
former
administration?
former press secretary pointed
Right.
this out to us. I think that was about 4 weeks ago, when really all of this was easily attributed to Putin. I've got that here. Let's see.
We know that 61% of that is driven by by energy costs, by Putin's invasion into Ukraine, and we need to continue to take every step we can.
So 39% is just kind of out there as far as why, but 61% we can allocate to Putin. COVID maybe for the other 29%.
Probably.
I think that
something
only
like
makes sense. No chance it
Yeah.
could be policy.
No,
No, I didn't think so. All right.
No,
not
shutting
just like
down
printing a
of-
bunch of money that we don't have.
The shutting
Right.
down of drilling on, in the American coastal waters for
Okay,
oil
you
has
are so-
nothing to do.
You are so like,
Oh, sorry.
Fake news.
where do you
oh my
get
God.
that stuff?
Where'd you
then
get that? Trump Truth Social?
I bet he was on
Yeah.
Truth Social for that. Well, then you've got, of course, like, I was thinking it couldn't be the small businesses that went out of business. And then, is this funny? I heard this. I heard somebody actually say
that.
small businesses that contributed to the GDP because they hired people and stuff. And they took that, and all that GDP is now gone. And in the middle of losing the GDP because we were losing the businesses, they were printing a bunch of fake money. Come on. That has nothing to do with it.
That has nothing to do with inflation.
Fortunately for you guys, I have the answer. And this is actually, it's shifted a bit.
I want to
big
be
shift.
enlightened.
I think initially Putin made a ton of sense. I mean, now though, I can take it to another level for you. I got a great answer for you because we replaced the old press secretary because she didn't know what she was talking about. So we've got somebody in there now, sharp as a tack. I mean, this one is possibly related to Einstein. I don't know that for sure. That could be fake news. Yes. She's got it worked out. I just like to play this. I might even, well, I won't stop it. I'll play it through.
So, are you talking about a specific tweet?
You want to bring down inflation, let's make sure the wealthiest corporations pay their fair share.
Look, we have talked about this past year about making sure that the wealthiest among us are paying their fair share. And that is important to do, and that is something that the president has been working on every day when we talk about inflation and lowering costs. And so it's very important that as we're seeing costs rise, as we're talking about how to build an America that's safe, that's equal for everyone and doesn't leave everyone behind. That is an important part of that as well.
But how does raising taxes on corporations lower the cost of gas, the cost of used cars, the cost of food for everyday Americans?
So look, I think we encourage those who have done very well, right? Especially those who care about climate change, to support a fair tax code that doesn't charge manufacturers, workers, cops, builders a higher percentage of their earnings, that the most fortunate people in our nation, and not let that stand in the way of reducing energy costs and fighting this existential problem, if you think about that as an example. And to support basic collective bargaining rights as well, right? That's also important. But look, it is, without having a fair tax code, which is what I'm talking about, then like manufacturing workers, cops, it's not fair for them to have to pay higher taxes than the folks who are not paying taxes at all.
What the hell?
I mean, if that doesn't clear it up, nothing does.
So if I was following that,
Yeah, let's break it down.
Business
number
owners
one.
are greedy.
Yeah.
But if we increase their taxes, they will just gladly pay that out of pocket and cut into their own profits. They won't pass that back on to the consumer.
Well, that's right. But the other part of it, too, is you have to understand when business owners pay more money for taxes, they can hire a lot more people. And when they hire a lot more people, that generates more revenue. And more revenue then brings up the GDP, which means that our gross national domestic product is higher. We've got a higher value for like everything in society. So don't you follow? Because I haven't brought in the tax code to clear that up, though. Because in the tax code and the cops with the firefighters,
it's the manufacturers
and
too.
manufacturers. And really what I'm telling you, right, is that it's the tax code firefighters with, on top of that, the police collective bargaining.
That was the most.
So did you get that? I just wanted to make sure you understood, right, what I was saying, right?
Nonsensical.
If we work
gobbledygook.
together, we can work together to
work
figure that out.
Oh, you don't know how to say that. I'll help you. I can help you with that too.
Connected and interdependent. That is especially true when it comes to the climate crisis, which is why we will work together and continue to work together to address these issues, to tackle these challenges, and to work together as we continue to work operating from the new norms, rules, and agreements that we will convene to work together on to galvanize global action.
Drink everything.
Word of the day.
This is a matter of
We'll
urgent
circle back
priority.
to that.
We're going to circle back to working together. Now,
This whole thing about raising corporate tax to curb inflation is actually backward. It's backwardation. You increase the taxes, you make the cost of the goods more expensive,
okay.
right? That's not deflation. You're inflating costs even more.
Yeah, those corporations are gonna put that cost onto the consumer. They're not gonna just be like, okay, I'll just make
The
less
problem
money.
is there's too much money out there flooding our market.
Where's the collective bargaining in your argument?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then on
You
top
didn't
of
bring
that,
that
you
up.
haven't even said anything about climate change
Or cops.
or firefighters.
I have lost complete faith in our federal government. And by the way, for the Republican senators and House members who can't seem to get on the same page and do anything either,
They can't work together.
I just, nothing's getting done. And
No.
this is also just ridiculous. And I feel like right now, anybody on the right side is just sitting on their hands waiting for November. They're just waiting because they don't want to say anything. They don't want to be in the news. They don't want to say anything. They don't want to be associated with what's happening right now. But I hate to see the downward spiral that we're in, regardless of who's in office.
Well, I think the country is comprised of a lot of intelligent people.
None of them happen to be politicians.
Yeah, none of them are
Or
employed
lawyers.
by the government.
But really, though, think about that. I mean, we have just a wealth of knowledge in our country and people that are incredibly intelligent. And somehow, the people that wind up being at the top, that is your best answer when it comes to some things that are so obvious for people that don't need a college education to figure it out. Like, it's not, a lot of these things are very commonsensical economic ideas that, again, I don't think you need to be an economist to understand that you are devaluing currency when you print more of it and there's nothing that backs up the currency. That's a very elementary rule. And yet we're talking about collective bargaining agreements and penalizing people that make money, making companies look greedy, which I think before the show, Matt had a good point. He said, well, a lot of these companies, we all own parts of it. It may be a very small portion because we have X number of shares of stock, but nonetheless,
Well, collectively, though.
it's not just the company that's being, quote, greedy. I guess you're telling everybody that owns stock they're greedy too. At the end of the day, that's capitalism and it's working. But when you get in the way of it with the government regulation and you get in the way of it with the Treasury Department, you get in the way of it with, we're going to print a ton of money and we're going to crush small businesses. And then we're going to sit around and scratch our head and say, boy, I can't figure out why inflation is so high. It's really difficult to really, pin down what it is. But I do know that when you've got that we just heard is your best explanation, we're really screwed. If that's the best you got, if you can't answer the question any better than that was answered. And here's the sad part. We don't have the video clip here, but go back and watch it. She's reading this off of a pre-drafted script.
Yeah, somebody wrote that for her and typed it up, and I'm sure it went through several hands of approval.
Yeah, so I don't know
before she
what's
was reading it.
scarier, the fact that she read it or the fact that other people wrote it that are part of the administration that had provided it to her. I mean, if you're a talking head as the press secretary, good for you, and you're fed information. If that information is good, I don't care who's doing the talking, but the information is so scary in substance, it makes me think we're never getting out of this.
Well,
Not that I'm
I
a
can
doomsday
see that
kind
they
of
would
guy.
be, I understand the argument, oh, they're stupid or incompetent.
Are you getting the hat out?
If you're assuming that they are
Tinfoil hat.
trying to make the economy better,
What's going on?
if
What's going on?
if they are operating from the game plan, which they would never admit to the public, but if behind their scenes their actual goal is to destroy the economy, then they're actually doing it incredibly effectively. So
They're doing a great job.
yeah,
at
you
that.
just gotta look at it and say, what are their goals? Because yeah, obviously ours, we'd like to have a nice economy, people to be able to afford food and gas and have formula to feed their babies, not to be greedy, but I think those are our goals. But I don't think that that's actually what the government wants. So I think they are doing a very effective job at achieving what they want. Our goals are just not aligned with theirs.
I think that's true. Did you see, or did you hear rather, the word in that cesspool of verbal vomit that we got from the press secretary? Man, that was rough, wasn't it?
Multidisciplinary approach to describing that.
Multidisciplinary cesspool of verbal vomit that came out of her mouth. Did you hear a word? There was a word.
What word?
Equity.
Oh, yeah.
Is your equity in there? Somehow that got shoved in there. We want it to be, fair for everybody.
I heard that. Yeah. Okay.
Well, inflation right now is pretty fair for everybody. Everybody's getting screwed. I mean, if you want to say it's fair for everybody, we're all paying ridiculous gas prices. We're all
ridiculous food prices. Everything's gone.
So I guess we're all equal. So do you feel better when you start to mesh together economic policy with social policy? It equals nothing short of chaos and a disaster, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, build back better.
Yeah.
This is a part where they say like you have to like tear it all down before you can build it back or whatever. We're still in the
tear down phase.
Yeah, we're in the demolition phase.
So. I like it.
I've heard it called different things. Like Justin Trudeau's referred to it as the Great Reset, which I know has a lot of conspiracy theory connotations to it, but that's what Justin Trudeau said was happening after COVID, and that has to come. It all has to do with globalization. I mean, like a one world global society, and so if you take down the United States as an economic superpower that can't be self-sufficient and we have to import things from other countries, you've sort of put us in the camp of the globalization. So it's achieving that goal pretty darn well. And so maybe they're not quite as dumb as we thought. Maybe they just have different goals and motivations than we do.
I don't disagree with that. I think that a lot of this is certainly part of the objective list, and there's a checklist, and they're trying to do certain things. Will it sustain itself over the course of more than 4 years? I doubt it. Why would you? Why would you do it if you weren't making a profit? And I can't say for sure. I've talked to a couple guys I know that drive trucks. I don't think we're far from that.
I've heard the same thing from Uber drivers though, that like their gas prices that's on them. So one guy told me, he's like, yeah, we don't get paid any extra from Uber because of what the gas prices are right now. It just cuts into their profits. So why would you want to spend your night driving people around and stuff when you're just adding miles onto your car and not making
hardly anything, if anything at all?
Yeah, you just put it right back in your gas tank, unless you're just a really altruistic person that wants to give drunk people rides home and hope they don't barf in your car.
So before we wrap up, I want to remind that we need to get to the verdict. The question was, what's the percentage of people breastfeeding?
Ladies and gentlemen, have you reached a verdict?
They have. They've reached a verdict. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what say you?
So the percentage of infants who are breastfed at any point in time ever in their infancy is 83.9%. This is from the CDC.
So this is like right out of the womb. Maybe they breastfeed
one day,
a day
2
or
days,
two, maybe a week.
Now, for those, the percentage of those who are 6 months, at 6 months, it drops to 56.7%, drops 30 percentage points about. And at 1 year, it drops to 35%.
That's still a large percentage within a year that are breastfeeding, and certainly in the first 6 months.
Well, and if you look exclusively breastfed, in the first 3 months, 46%. In the first 6 months, 25%. So between 3 to 6 months, parents are introducing children to complementary foods outside of breastfeeding, especially at 1 year for sure. Their doctors want you to.
So more than half of the mothers in the United States are going to be affected by the formula shortage because they are not breastfeeding.
Correct. That's correct.
Anyway, we hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, and we're happy you could join us on the Free for All Friday. It's been nice being back in the studio. Everyone agree with that?
Yeah. I hope to see you guys again in here real soon.
Yeah. So we'll get back cranking away. Now that we got some summertime, things get busy, but at the same time, there's later days, later sunsets. So it's easier to sneak in even in the evenings at times and get a quick show in. So thanks again for joining us on the SOL podcast. Like we've said before, you can find us on all of the forums and maybe YouTube. It depends. We got kicked off one of our videos the other day, so maybe that'll continue. Strike one. I think when you get to strike 3, if it's anything like baseball, we're out of there.
It's a video from 2 years ago.
Which does raise the question, how the hell did it take them that long to figure it out? But maybe we're just not as popular as everybody else. I don't know. Kind of weird. In any case, until next time, this is the Shake and Bake signing off the SOL podcast.
Thank you for listening to SOL. Join us next time on Facebook Live, YouTube Live,
and iTunes. For additional information or questions related to your legal matter, contact the Baker Law Group at 614-228-1882. That's 614-228-1882. Be safe, know your rights, and follow the law. This podcast is adjourned.